Welcome to the Free to Suffer podcast with Martin and Ricardo. Ever wonder why we're compelled to avoid suffering?
In this podcast, we'll address the stigma of negative feelings and try to help everyone improve their well-being by learning to accept suffering and to get good at feeling.
We are Martin and Ricardo, two longtime friends, both interested in topics related to mental health and positive psychology. Ricardo is a retired mental health counselor, student of Rupert Spira and other teachers of awareness, and nonviolent man of action.
Martin is a lifelong martial artist, former cancer health researcher, dedicated to education and helping people to be their best.
We're always looking for interesting topics for our episodes, so if you have a topic you'd like to suggest, we invite you to send it to us or post it to our comments.
We're glad to have you with us and hope you find some use and meaning in this episode.
And we're away again.
Here we are, Martin.
Well, so last time we talked about stress and how it affects the experience that we're experiencing in the world, and a lot of our experience is also related to the mind state that we're in, and under the mind state that we experience things, things can start to seem pretty good or pretty dire. So I think that this is now several weeks after, almost a month after the assassination attempt on former President Trump. And so it's pretty surreal what that looked like, people's stress level with respect to politics, and maybe some more hopefulness, at least on the Democratic side. All sorts of different things that are happening, but I think it relates to also just like how, if you're not very aware of your states of mind or your feelings, you can get tugged around. It's like a roller coaster out there.
Well, so basically, we're going to talk about feelings today, right?
Yes.
And our relationship to feelings, and
exactly,
and the impact feelings have on us. And we did that because, at the end of our talking about stress and our reactions to stress, we came to this understanding about these feelings. You mentioned it's been 4 weeks and the assassination of Trump. The other thing that happened in the meantime is President Biden stepped off and decided he was not going to run for president, and he handed it over to Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. Talk about feelings and the change of feelings that happened when that happened. And the doubts and the fears that President Biden could ever win the election, and now the excitement that Kamala Harris could win the election, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Yeah. I frankly, not to go too much on the side, but I could not imagine this country is ready to elect a black woman as president. To me, that was inconceivable.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen.
Yeah.
And after Biden stepped aside and endorsed Kamala, and I saw the reaction.
Yeah.
I went, oh my God, maybe, speaking of feelings, I got excited. Maybe it really is possible that we are at a place in our development in this country where we could elect a black woman as president against a white, racist, predator, felon.
Right.
So, speaking of feelings,
and I mean, I want to make sure that people that are listening are, they understand that this is an apolitical podcast.
Yes.
We're trying to connect with as many people as we can, and to meet them where they're at.
Yes.
So it's fascinating to me to hear, to see just how, the feeling, for lack of a better term, the feelings that people can experience can be like night and day. It can be so they can just be in one place one day, in another place another day, and moment to moment, and so it's and ultimately kind of comes back to, well, there's a lot of things that people can potentially be influenced by out there. The media can really. I mean, this is one of the reasons why people can sometimes, if they're stuck in this kind of almost victim mindset for a very long time, right? Maybe like there was a lot of people that were on the sidelines of politics and were like, well, there's nobody that I can vote for. There's nobody I can vote for. Like, I think, and to be frank, I think that Trump appealed to those people when he ran in the 2016 elections. He basically said, hey, look, you have all these politicians, and none of them are bringing you what I can bring you, which is to essentially vote for nobody. Like, you can vote for me because I'm not a politician. That was his platform. I think that was his original platform, and so they essentially voted, and I think that's kind of why people are calling his platform now the personality platform. That's probably how they, how people have been kind of setting it up, saying that's kind of what he runs on. But it is kind of this, like, it's appealing to the feelings of the people that are there, and so people that are seeing just how wildly this can kind of swing back and forth, they're like, well, what's news? Like, they talk about news and talk about news being biased and all these kind of things. Hard to trust. That's like, it's hard for them to trust, or hard for people to trust if they're in that kind of maybe victim style mindset. And so this is maybe kind of coming back to stress and fear, maybe. There's all sorts of different kinds of, like, what do you call that? Paranoid, or different ways of seeing the world as like a conspiracy out to get you, or something like that. If you're in a mind state where things are only happening to me and I'm being beaten down, or like things are unfair, maybe I don't have a job, maybe I don't have currently I don't have a job, I think just my job is making this podcast right now. So yes, it's but I can look at that and I can maybe laugh about it, whereas some people, if they're out of a job, I see, on the internet, somebody who just lost their job for the second time in I think it's like 6 months. So she lost her job, found a new one, then a couple of months after the new one, lost it again. It's disheartening to see that, and you can see that people may take that and may basically say, okay, well, is this struggle to stay employed worth it, or is there a lot of people, when I talk to them about the job market, they're like, oh, it's the job market, it's like there's not, it's really down, and it's like they're really trying to sympathize with me about it. And I look at it and I'm saying, well, the job market's always going to be there one way or another, people are going to need others to help them with whatever tasks they're after. So I take a look at it and I'm saying, well, I can look at it and I can at least be aware of opportunities that present themselves. And I'm not kind of stuck in my own head trying to make up an idea of like how it should be or how, the job market is out to get me, because there's a place that you reach after you've had enough experience where things don't quite bother you as much as they used to, and so even though I'm scared for lack of finding comfort, if my job hunt goes too far along into the future, I can just realize that, okay, well, that's a fear, but I have no knowledge of what's going to be in the future. A year or 2 years from now, very, very difficult for me to really predict where that's going to be. And that fear, holding on to that fear right now, I mean, I might as well just let it go and just give it back to wherever that fear came from, and focus on what is it that I can do right now, maybe, to if finding the next job is the thing that I should be doing right now, or that I want to be doing right now, or that that I feel empowered to do right now, maybe that's something that I can focus on right now, rather than complaining about the job market, things like that. So this is just an example of one of the feelings that we'll talk about today. And thanks, Ricardo, for putting it into context. I think everybody is very jubilant, or at least the Democratic side is very happy with having a different option to vote for now.
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways that our feelings can help us, but also hinder us. Even something like joy could hinder us if we're just running after it and trying to, just find happiness in this world. Oh yeah. The way. Sorry to cut you off. Go.
No, go. I was going to say finish what you were where you were going. And...
I can go for a long time.
Okay. well, so implied in what you've said, and I think that these are important points to make, that because you talked about, for example, being afraid of the job market, but also understanding you can't predict the future, and you might as well let that go. So what I'm pointing to here is that how we feel is a function of our perspective. Or another way to say that is a function of our state of mind. And I love that you clarified this is not a political podcast, and it helps make another point about how our feelings are a function of our perspective. Because I think of all the people who are excited about Trump. Okay, I'm excited about Kamala Harris, but then there's all these people that are excited about Trump. Trump scares the hell out of me. Kamala Harris scares the hell out of them. Okay, sure, yeah. So whether we're feeling excited or we're feeling has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with our perspective. Yeah. And then we can argue, well, I'm right. And, I love, recently I heard somebody say, I love this, we have moved in this country because it used to be, I'm right and you're wrong. Now it's, I'm right and you're evil. And think about the feelings that are evoked when we start thinking that way, that people that Trump is evil or the people that support Trump are evil. No, these are just perspectives. They're just as human as we are.
Right.
You see,
right.
And the very thing that scares the hell out of me makes them feel safe. And the very thing that makes me feel safe scares the hell out of them. You see. Yeah. So again, the point being how our feelings are a function of our perspective.
Yes, it's interesting to note that each side is seeing the other side almost like a tyrannical government, in a way.
Yes.
They're saying that that under one government, everybody's going to turn into fascists.
Yes.
And under the other government, the government's going to turn into communists.
That's what I heard today. Yeah.
And it's just this, like we see each side as this kind of extreme version of what can be, and it's almost like there's this fear that's been injected for us to vote this one way or this other way, because there's this it's it's like a competitive debate match that's just off the rails, just so extreme, right? And so one thing that comes to mind about this is that when you see somebody like very, very angry at another person or another thing, they disassociate. They completely separate themselves from that other thing. And they don't even see, I don't think they even see that person as a person anymore. They just see them as this almost like an obstacle, like a hurdle to overcome almost. They lose empathy, I think, to some extent for that other person. And they're just almost like there's a great book I'm actually reading right now called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership by three authors, Jim Dethmer, Diana Chapman, and Kaylee Warner Klemp. And in the book, they describe a number of different types of feelings, and the one that they associate, the anger feeling, they associate with wanting to destroy the obstacle, destroy something that's in their way, right? And so there's actually, so there you can see that anger is something that can be destructive, but in the case of destroying things, it can also be helpful if that obstacle is actually like an item or something that's kind of, or maybe even a thought that's getting in your way of seeing something more clearly. So in other words, they talk about how, and this is actually, I think, I'm trying to remember if Shiva is the goddess of destruction, where it's like this demon that comes up and destroys the thing that is keeping you from achieving something else. In other words, without destruction, there wouldn't be creation, because she's also the goddess, I believe, of creation as well. Yeah. And so it's just interesting to me to consider that anger can be potentially a useful feeling too. But when it's in this kind of almost like an unhealthy, unaware state of mind, you can really get into very hard patterns, hard ways, patterns of behavior that can be extremely unproductive and unhealthy. And so I'd love to hear your comments about this, also just about anger, because I know there's and I don't want to steer you at the moment, but I have another thought to add maybe later.
Gabor Mate talks about healthy anger, and healthy anger is the anger that rises up when you've invaded my boundaries and I go, back off.
Yeah.
It's not violent.
Yeah.
It's not hurtful. It's natural in our biology, and we see it in all animals all over the world. If their territory is invaded, they go, back off. Okay? So that's healthy anger. The anger you described about wanting to destroy the obstacle, except where you're also pointing out when the obstacle is invading my boundary and I need it to back off so I can accomplish what I need to accomplish, I get the job so I can pay my rent. You see. So, but the other anger you're kind of pointing to me, isn't really anger, it's fear that shows up now as violence. And I'm thinking now of Israel and Palestine and the horrors. There's a movie I strongly recommend to anybody. It's a documentary called When Olive Trees Weep, about what's happening between Israel and the Palestinians. And that's not anger. That's fear-based. Okay? And the Jews and Israel come out of the Holocaust. Okay? And now they're behaving in ways that the way they were treated related to the Palestinians. This movie is beautiful about demonstrating that. But here it's not about back off here my boundary. It's about the argument of, well, whose boundary is it? And you know, this is now unhealthy anger based, as I understand it, on fear. So, but the point that you're pointing to that I think is really important is that anger and fear and the other emotion we haven't mentioned yet, that all are called negative emotions, sadness, grief. There's healthy responses, or they all are healthy in a sense. They're uncomfortable, but they're not negative. There's a healthy place for anger. There's a healthy place for fear. There's a healthy place for grief. And ultimately, it's not the emotions that are unhealthy. It can be our response to those emotions that are unhealthy. And in general, the unhealthy response is to resist it, to deny it, to avoid it, to distract from it, rather than to attend to it and notice, why is this feeling here and what is this feeling attempting to get me to do so that I can take care of things.
Yeah, that's right. Anger, as you were saying, could be useful in situations to say, okay, stay away. And fear in those types of situations, like where if your home is being invaded, or you see your society or your way of life being altered, where you've come to an area and you're like, this is my area, I want to make it this way. Maybe you've put in several generations into living there, or maybe it's been there like ancestrally for a very long time, and you don't know what's going to happen with these new neighbors, or the potentially different cultures that are doing different things than what you understand. Maybe it's kind of funny, when I visited my family in Poland, I spent some time in Poland, and there was someone there that around, this was for a wedding. I went to visit my cousin's wedding, and at weddings you get to talk to people from all walks of life, and so had talked with the husband of, it was a lady that was on my aunt's side of the family, and she and so he ended up saying how Muslims from all over are coming into Europe. So I think at the time it was Syria, because Syria had a lot of refugees, and different European nations were asked to have different amounts of migrants that they would accept at that time. And he was like, well, they're not Christians, why should they come into Poland? And so this is the thing with Poland. I think after the Second World War, it became a 95% Christian nation. Now, since then, and I think even back then, there was quite a lot of atheists as well living there. But I think typically the unspoken rule is you don't speak religion around the table and you don't really know who's an atheist or who's a practicing Christian, who's a Catholic Christian, or if there's other forms of Christianity there. So we had a discussion around the Christmas table, or no, sorry, not this was we had a discussion around the family table, and with this gentleman I had just met, and he was talking about like all of his fears coming out about the Muslim community, and I guess I didn't really have as close of an attachment to that he had in that community, but I asked him this simple question, which was when he was saying that Muslims don't celebrate Christmas, I asked him, well, have you ever participated or asked any Muslim people that you know about Ramadan or about their traditions? You know, and it's kind of this sad state where if you don't understand something, sometimes you tend to be fearful of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's natural, that if, and probably also biological, that something you don't know can be threatening. I mean, there are even evolutionary psychologists that would say it's part of our survival mechanism to predict the worst and to assume the worst. They're my enemy and they're going to hurt me. The problem is, and again, earlier I was talking about how our feelings are based on our perspective. That fear is a natural, healthy response. The problem is to then assume that they truly are evil, or that they truly are, rather than doing what you were pointing to earlier and what you invited this friend to do, which is to, excuse me, to consider further, well, are they really a threat? You see, is my job, situation really a threat or not? Again, our fear is now an invitation to pay attention and study further and find out and become curious. But one of the things fear can do, and I was going to talk about this earlier, I don't know how I'm going to fit this back in. If we paid attention to our fear, I would say, well, maybe they're a threat, but maybe not. And now I'm going to be curious versus assuming that they're a threat. You see, and now putting them in gas chambers, which is what the fascists did,
right,
or what the Jews are now doing, the Israelis are now doing with the Palestinians,
right,
who have been there way before the Jews ever got to Israel.
Yeah.
You see,
yeah.
But the problem now has been when we haven't learned to value our feelings, so we pay attention to them. And now I get to what I was going to say earlier. My favorite teacher, Rupert Spira, he's a spiritual teacher that he would say, but I would never call myself a spiritual teacher. He teaches non-duality. He says our feelings are uncomfortable feelings, and he'll call it suffering now. But suffering is to the mind what pain is to the body. Okay? Now, even with pain, I'll tend to ignore it and try to, until the pain is so intense and so constant that I can't ignore it anymore. But our pain and our discomfort, our suffering, are saying, pay attention. There's something that needs attending to. Yeah. So all our uncomfortable feelings, again, sadness, anger, fear, they're our own intelligence saying, pay attention. Something needs attending to. But all of us have been raised, well, don't be sad. Don't be angry. Get over it. You shouldn't feel that way. You know,
Yeah.
So instead of attending to our feelings, and seeing how our feelings are made on this possibility that they're my enemy, but maybe not, that we then avoid our feelings and assume they are my enemy, and now attack them. You see? The problem isn't these feelings, it's that we haven't been given the permission to feel and developed our ability to feel. See, that's why I ended our last podcast where Michael Brown, I think, who said it's not about feeling good. Sadness and anger and fear don't feel good. It's about getting good at feeling so we can attend to the sadness and see what's going on that's making me sad. Right. We can attend to the fear and see what's making me afraid. Is there a real threat here now? 99.999% of the time, no. The threat is in my mind. When there's a real threat, I don't even have time to think.
Yeah, exactly. And fear can be a protective response. I mean, it can definitely help you. If there's a threat, a visible threat that is coming at you in that moment, it helps to, or even like a perceived threat. As long as you can understand that it's something that you're perceiving, it helps you plan for the future.
Yes.
It helps you investigate things. It helps you, like what do they say now with, if somebody is looking at these, different television channels and saying, oh, this is fake news, or some politician is claiming, oh, that's fake news. Well, is it fake? That's one of the ways of there's a lot of information now people can access, and the value of that information can be very different depending on where you look. I have a friend who recently visited in Calgary who he said I challenged him on his view of the world a little bit, and he's like, oh no, I actually am checking a number of these different news sources. I'm not just somebody who's shooting from the hip, the first opinion that I hear. I was, we go way back, so it's we can argue in a friendly fashion without having our feelings hurt. But he is one of those people that I love to talk to and even debate with, because he has he has done some of his own research, and tends to kind of form an opinion based on different things that he sees and reads, even if not all of them are very politically correct. He can sometimes be a little bit like rough around the edges, as they say, but he always tries to follow up. Like if he's confronted, he'll in a friendly way, because he's Canadian. He'll in a friendly way he'll give you maybe some of his sources or things that you can actually go and do your own investigation. So you can actually, if you want to, you can find your own information and form your own opinion about it. So we've covered fear and we've covered anger, in how they can be both helpful and detrimental. How about the good feelings that are out there? The ones that are like joyfulness or comfort or peace.
Yeah, but before we get to the comfortable feelings, I want to touch on grief a little bit more, because that's
grief.
That's
right. That's one we missed too. Yeah,
sadness. And grief.
Yeah.
Now again, when we get good at feeling, instead of avoiding our grief, we can look at it. And I want to tell a quick story to make the point. I'll never forget the day I met a 19-year-old student at the UW. I worked there for 20 years, and her dad had just died. And she was just full of grief. I mean, just overwhelmed with grief. And as I was listening to her, I had the thought and feeling, no 19-year-old should have to experience that. But the next thought was, many 19-year-olds have lost their dads. There's no right or wrong time to die. We die at all ages, at all times. And I'm wondering if she thinks he shouldn't have died at this time. So I asked her that. I said, well, as painful as losing your dad is, do you also feel it shouldn't have happened now, that you should have been a different age? She goes, yes. And she then looked at me and realized, oh, when that thought went away, when she realized, no, there's no right time to die. We die at all times.
Yeah.
Her grief was still there, but it was It was pure sadness at the loss of her dad. It was no longer feeling victimized by life that stole dad from me.
Yes.
And there was just this beautiful, deep, 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 deep sadness made of the love for her dad.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. You know, so again, healthy and unhealthy.
Yeah.
And healthy and unhealthy responses. When we don't have permission to feel and haven't gotten good at feeling, we can't do what I helped this young woman do by realizing in my own head, I said, no 19-year-old should have to go through this, and see, no, that's just a thought.
Right. Right. And how long could someone live like that, right? I mean, with the grief of somebody and feeling victimized, right? And so that, you know, it's amazing to hear that story, because somebody could have, you know, that lady could have gone on for a long time.
We can live the rest of our life with that. I think of all the parents losing their children in Ukraine, in Gaza. I mean, with that, there's the natural grief of losing your loved one, but then there's the unhealthy belief it shouldn't have happened this way at this time.
Yeah, and all the behaviors that like maybe she would have done differently.
Yes.
Coming from that view of the world,
yes.
right? So that and then also the fact that grieving can help heal. Yeah. It can help someone have a moment where they are able to have some rest, take some rest. I think that's probably what sadness helps us do more than anything, is that, you know, if you've had a loss maybe in your life, or something has escaped you, as some people, you know, especially if you're like out there trying to get stuff, you know, from your surroundings, from your world, right? Sometimes, and maybe you're trying to win at a sport or something like that, and you lose. It helps you have that time where you can say, okay, I can actually tell you a little story of my own. So I participated in my first jiu-jitsu tournament a couple of years ago, and when I went up against somebody who was extremely skilled at this too, which was probably the best learning lesson I could get out of it. He was at kind of the upper bracket of my skill level, and the competitions are divided into skill levels. So he beat me. I come back to my coach, and I say, well, I guess it's back to the drawing board. And my coach said, well, not exactly. I mean, this is paraphrasing. My coach, Brian Johnson, he says, there's let's see the video. So we went up to the video, and there was like 6 or 7 things that he said I could do better. And so for the next 2 years, I've been practicing those things. And I mean, I got after all of those different skills that I could improve. But it took a little time to say, okay, well, wait a minute, you know, it's not like I had nothing, like all of the years of training before my first tournament, and then like the 8-week fight camp, as they call them, to get ready for the competition. You know, that was an experience in and of itself, and I'm not starting from scratch. I'm not back to the drawing board. Yeah. The drawing board is only what you make it, and you know, I don't have to build everything up back from scratch. We have all these experiences. Yes. And but it gave me the needed time to rest, the needed time to recover from, you know, all that energy, all that excitement, everything that was there. And if we didn't have this kind of sadness, even after accomplishing something, sometimes there's a sadness people feel, right? And, and it gives us a chance to maybe pay attention again to what's
yes, which is what your coach helped you do, because the thought, I'm back to the drawing board, is the grief that now feels like it's all gone, and something was all gone in that moment. You see, and then the coach helps you see, well, no, not everything is gone, and this points to what you were pointing to earlier, and what we're talking about, which is perspective, and how our perspective is based on what we believe is true. But then there's the question, well, what really is true? You see, because if my perspective is based on what's really true, good. Adyashanti, beautiful author, he once said, until we love truth above all else, until our deepest desire is to know what's really true, we will end up in a delusion. And as Byron Katie once said, do you want to be right, or do you want to know what's true? Mm-hmm. And I realized once when she said that again, to talk about fear, I came up in a place where you better not be wrong or else. Mm-hmm. Well, if I'm afraid of being wrong because I'm going to be punished, criticized, ostracized for being wrong, I don't want to know what's true. What if it's true that I'm wrong? You see, so first I have to destigmatize being wrong. And lately I've said there's nothing wrong with being wrong. It's how we learn. But if I'm too afraid to be wrong, I can't be curious about what's really true.
Exactly. Yeah. It's this kind of also the famous Michael Jordan saying that, I've missed how many countless of shots. I've missed so many, I've had so many losses where I've been given the ball in the final moments of the game, and I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially, yes, he says, this is why I've been successful.
Yes.
And having those losses, having the sadness, having that time to say, okay, we're here now.
Yes. Let's
get back to it again.
Yes.
Or let's decide what direction to go from here.
Yes.
And it's this it's a beautiful feeling if you let it be there. And
and then be curious about how true is it, which is what your coach does, which is help you see what's really true.
Yes. We're going to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the gym tomorrow, actually. So
wow.
I'm really looking forward to helping out, and it's an excellent coach, wonderful coach.
Now we can get to the positive feelings.
Yes,
Martin.
Yes, let's do it.
The excitement of celebrating tomorrow. Notice I called it positive instead of comfortable. Again, we've been socialized to think some feelings are positive and some are negative. No, all feelings are positive, to put it that way. All feelings are part of our intelligence, giving us information that's very useful to us. So I'll call it a comfortable feeling. Excitement is comfortable. It's pleasurable. It's pleasant. Fear is uncomfortable. And speaking of that, I've never been excited where I didn't at the same time feel some fear. Like, I'm excited to do these podcasts with you, and at the same time I feel a lot of fear that, well, what if it's not good enough?
Sure.
But anyway, so getting to the positive feelings that are simple to do, which is if you ask yourself, how do I want to feel? I want to feel good. I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel excited. I want to feel happy. I want to feel satisfied. I want to feel safe. I want to feel secure. We all know how we want to feel. Why? Because it's comfortable. You see. Yeah. Well, now, part of the theme we're talking about today is healthy and unhealthy responses to our feelings. I've noticed we all want these things. You see. Yeah. But I was then reminded of how there's even unhealthy responses to our excitement, even unhealthy responses to our happiness and our satisfaction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the unhealthy response there is the need to cling to my happiness. And I can't tell you how often in my work, I've been a counselor for 42 years, how often in my work people try to hold on to their happiness. Well, in that moment it went. People try to hold on to their sense of security in that moment that went.
Mm-hmm.
You see, versus, I love this phrase again by Rupert Spira. He says, let come what comes, let go what goes, and stay with what remains. Our happiness is going to come and go. So is our fear. Our security, our sense of security is going to come and go. So is our sense of fear.
Yeah. It's
Our sense of fulfillment is going to come and go, but so is our sense of lack.
yeah.
Let come what comes, let go what goes, and stay with what remains. What does remain?
Yeah. So this is an example where like people can get really, really obsessed about certain things. Maybe holding on to like some victory that they had in the past, right? Where that was like a joyful thing. I want to relive it. I want to like get it back in my life, and you're just grasping and reaching and trying to get, maybe even leads to forms of addiction, different types of addiction. I know that me and my son love to play video games. Sometimes there's this like compulsiveness too that can take over if you don't step back and see that you are playing a video game, that you're not in this, that you're in this like realm. Or sometimes if there's like enough little pieces of excitement in that game, and you're like trying to reach that next level or whatever, and it's and this is how casinos are built too. They build this kind of pleasure house, and you go into this the floor of the casino, and you see all the beautiful lights and beautiful people and the drinks that they're serving, and maybe you've had a good experience there in the past too, so you're back for another time. Yes. And maybe you're trying to relive that moment where you've pulled the wheel, or you've bet on some cards or something like that, and you get that dopamine hit, and it gives, or that moment where you're like seeking that, you can feel like, oh, this is something that's bringing me joy.
Yes.
But then the moment it hits, it leaves you empty, and it's like this, and then you're seeking again. Yes. And then you're seeking again.
Yes.
If you're in that state of mind where you can't see that there are feelings that are attached to this seeking, it can be very compulsive.
Yes.
Right? Is that where the compulsion comes from?
Yes. And the seeking comes because we think we've lost the happiness that we got when we got the object, we got the relationship, we got the situation, we won the gamble, and we think it's the object, the situation, the relationship that's making us happy, but it's not. If it was, there would be no more seeking. Okay? But so the mind attributes our happiness, our joy, to having obtained what we wanted. What it doesn't notice, again, well, what's really true? Well, what's really true, my happiness didn't come from getting what I wanted. It came from when I got what I wanted, my seeking and resisting stopped. And the minute my seeking and resisting stopped, I was happy.
Yes.
I was comfortable.
There we go.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So if we see that, and again, Rupert, I'm mentioning him a lot today, he wrote a beautiful book called You Are the Happiness You Seek. The minute I seek happiness, I'm assuming it's gone. You see, why would I seek something if I have it? You see, because we believe, again, this is a very common belief that isn't true, though, is that the object, the situation, the relationship brought me the happiness. No. It was in the moment we got what we wanted, we stopped seeking and resisting, and our natural innate comfort and well-being shone. That's our true nature.
Yeah.
It's why we love deep sleep, because there's no seeking or resisting when we're in deep sleep. There's many moments through the day when our seeking and resisting stops, and in those moments we're comfortable, we're happy, satisfied.
Yes. Yes. Interesting. That may be something we could talk about a little bit more in a future podcast, which is dreams and deep sleep. I know that there's probably a whole a whole series of podcasts one can make probably about that. But that's one possibility. Let's get to a couple of other positive, or I should say comfortable feelings.
Yeah.
That we've thought of as well. Having comfort or security, right? So searching for comfort, searching to have, like, I'm in this situation right now where I'm trying to find work, right? Mainly because, well, my unemployment insurance has expired, and I need to. It's been more than 6 months now, so I need to find some financial security as well. And I was searching previous to that, but now there's a little bit of an added fear of, hey, it's starting to cut into some of my savings, and even though my son has finished his high school and is going off to college, he can't quite support himself yet. I'm still helping to provide the roof over his head and provide food in the fridge, and he's a growing teenager, so that food doesn't come cheap. So and also just in terms of, it's kind of funny because there's like these social pressures that are out there where if you're and this is very traditional, if you're a man, you bring home the bacon, right? And so there's almost like this kind of feeling of society or pressure of society that, hey, look, just like Putin advertises, you're a man, be a man, in his war propaganda videos. If I'm a man in this society, I'm expected to work. But also, things are changing. I think, and they have changed for the most part. Both genders are equally happy to, and all genders are, expected to work for in most families. So, this idea of providing financial comfort or providing physical comfort, I think that evolutionarily speaking, it's one that helps to offset things like hard times. If there's a situation where the market is harder, or maybe there's medical bills that come, you want to be ready for those. So I think if you had a store of grain during the winter, historically, you would have been able to support yourself, support your community, support other people that are around you, right? At the same time, and so these are some of the comfort things. Did I miss anything that comes to mind for you?
Well, yes, because really the desire for these comfortable things is necessary when we live in a capitalist monetary economy. In an economy called a resource-based economy, which is possible, but the will for that isn't here yet. The Venus Project knows all about that and speaks longly about that. In a resource-based economy, housing, medicine, employment, you don't need employment, but everything is guaranteed.
Yeah,
and nothing costs anything. Okay,
yeah.
So that's security.
Yeah.
Okay, but now if we live in a state, in a capitalist economy state,
right,
or a communist economy state, can we really find security in a job? You see, you could lose your job at any time, but the need for security is there. Well, back to Rupert, what ultimately now, back to Rupert and what's really true beyond our perspectives, if I can't ultimately find security in a relationship, if I can't ultimately find security in a job, if I can't ultimately find security in my health, if I can't ultimately find security in peace in the world, where the hell am I going to find security? Because the longing for security is a healthy longing. You see?
Yeah.
So
it also has to do also with physical security.
Yes.
Being able to. I mean,
Yes.
being able to protect your family.
Yes.
I think we talked a little bit about gun.
Yes. But now, does having a gun really make you secure? Does having an A-bomb really make you secure? No. None of these ultimately gives us the security we long for. So what does? Now I'll jump to the other side, which we could ignore, is the fear that I feel when I imagine not being able to get the job. Okay, but now, and it's the fear that you felt when you lost that competition.
Yeah.
Okay, so here the way back to security is not to overlook the fear that I just felt. Okay, to be secure enough to welcome that fear and go, oh, Byron Katie has a very powerful and beautiful way of helping us not only accept the fear, but look into the fear. And she would say, because what are you imagining, Martin? You're imagining I can't get a job. Okay, so once we acknowledge my fear is coming from the image in my mind that I can't get a job, and Byron Katie would invite you to say, what if that were true? What if you really couldn't get a job? What are you so scared of? What's the worst that could happen? And now we're now drilling down to find out our worst fear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is actually very on point, because I was actually just asked that question just I think it was just a few days ago, and like if I couldn't find work in the next 6 months, what would that look like? And for me, I would probably be somewhat uncomfortable, but I could manage it.
Yeah.
And the comfort of finding work. There's people that will find work that is very unhealthy for them. Maybe they're getting lambasted by their manager. Maybe they're being, harangued. I mean, I've worked positions where I've had abusive managers in the past. And, I recognize that some people will still stay there and take the paycheck and put up with the abuse and like not say anything. Because of the fear, both the fear of not finding other work, other employment that out there, like the unknown of what does it look like to even start job hunting or searching for new things, and because of the comfort that they feel when they get that little paycheck or whatever paycheck that they're getting. Maybe it's a big paycheck. Maybe it's a big paycheck that's basically saying, and this is where the term selling out comes from, right? You're getting such a big paycheck that the discomfort that you would feel from not getting quite as high of a paycheck, but a healthier lifestyle, is something that people will sell out for.
Yeah.
And so that
Absolutely.
and so yeah. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that the comfort can be useful or security, we could call it security. It could be useful when it has more, when it has some implications, like for somebody being motivated to take care of themselves and the ones around them, but also can be it can be a serious problem if it's taken too far. If it puts somebody in a situation where they're either ignoring the other things in their life that are kind of these red flags that are saying, hey, look, this is you may be sacrificing so many other things if you're just staying comfortable here.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And there you remind me of this beautiful anachronism. Fear is an anachronism. FEAR. Forget everything and run. And that's, people will stay in abusive relationships and abusive job situations because they're not facing their fear.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's an unhealthy response to the fear, so they'll stay there.
Yes.
Or fear, again, is an acronym, FEAR, face everything and run. Everything starting with my fear. Face the fear. And then look into what is it that's scaring you. You see, when you talked, you said, well, I'm afraid of not getting a job in the next 6 months. But you also implied, I have faith that I'll get a job most likely, because as you said earlier, well, we can't predict things, really. They can't predict the future. But you're imagining, I can't get a job in 6 months, but I can get a job within the year. Well, that gives you security, that thought. Yeah. Well, can you really get a job in a year? If it was Byron Katie, she said, what if you can't get a job in a year? Right. What if you can't get a job in the next 6 years, Martin? What are you really afraid of? Right. You see, because again, we're interested in what's the truth versus what am I just imagining.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
When I do this, and I may be a spoiler or something, but I just want to make a point. When I do this, I very quickly go, I'm afraid I'll end up homeless. Okay? Thousands of homeless people. Well, okay, keep going down. What if I'm homeless? What am I really afraid of? What's the worst that could happen if I was homeless? And I keep going down. Well, the shame I would feel and the discomfort. No, keep going down. What's the worst that could happen if you're homeless? I'll get cold, sick, and die, or I'll be. But the point, I call this exercise, which I do all the time, 3 steps to death, because every time when I was working, and the worst fear as a counselor is you're going to be sued. You say, well, what happens if I'm sued? I get fired and I can never get another job and I end up homeless. So the point being, when I did this, and did this many, many times, I was always 3 steps away from death. I'll never forget when Byron Katie said, don't die yet. Now what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
You see, and again, what we're getting at is, in reality, I can't find anything to be afraid of. Yes, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Is death really scary?
Yeah.
As Rupert says, nobody's come back from death and told us it's a horrible thing. Yeah. You see, but now where is my security?
Yeah.
It's not in not becoming homeless. It's not in not becoming sick and cold and dying.
Yeah.
It's in the fact that I am.
Yeah.
You see, again, let come what comes, let go what goes. Stay with what remains.
Yeah.
What remains of us after we die?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great, interesting practice. Yeah. And this is where using your mind for what it was built to do,
yes.
or for what it was meant to do, it really comes in, because it's, our mind, the human mind, can project into the future. Yeah. And we can take experiences and we can try to simulate what may happen in the future in our minds, but as long as we recognize that all that is just a simulation. Yep. And we don't really know what's going to be in the future. Yep. And so as a result of that, we can say, okay, well, this is probably the most likely thing, but we still don't know. Yes. But we still don't know. Yes. And so ultimately, I think that having courage is seeing that whatever projection is that you're creating, and still saying, okay, well, yes. let's go. Let's move on with this life. Let's keep going. Yes. Let's see where it takes us. Right. Yes. Who
was it? Was it Socrates who in the end said, I only know I know nothing? Ultimately, we don't know. You see, and our security doesn't come from knowing. Yeah. It comes from accepting. Ultimately, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And here I am talking with you.
Yeah. And exactly. And it's I wanted to just share one other thing. At one of the weddings that I've been to the last couple of years, there was a great speech given by, I believe it was the best man of my friend, and one of the things that he commented on is my friend's ability and this is probably in my son's generation, a little bit older than my son's generation. He used the term full send, that he complimented my friend on being someone who full sends.
Oh, got it.
In other words, he just commits, he goes, and he sees where things will take him, and he doesn't hold back. He's in the moment. And this friend he's a skateboarder, he's a snowboarder, he's somebody, and now he took the leap of getting married too. So talk about a full send, right? Yeah. So this is just so that's being able to kind of come out of that comfort, come out of that security, and actually continue to act. Recognizing that the security, everybody needs some security in order to fulfill their lives, to fulfill their obligations to others in their lives.
Yes.
But also there's also and so again we're talking about how these feelings are all useful.
Yes. And I want to distinguish what you're pointing to. There's our need for material security, which again, given in an economic capitalist society, we need to have a job so we can pay our rent, etc. And then there's our need for emotional security. And emotional security isn't being happy all the time. Emotional security is befriending all my feelings and valuing the sadness I feel when I lose a loved one, and the fear I feel when I predict some horrible things could happen if this person is elected and not that person, and the fear, the anger that I feel when I see injustice. So that here, emotional security comes in normalizing permission to feel. Who's going to give us permission? We needed it when we were little. We didn't get it. Too late. But we can now claim our right to feel, and then work at getting good at feeling. Okay. It occurred to me once, Martin, that feeling is uniquely human, just like walking and talking is. But none of us is born able to walk, talk, or feel. We have to develop the ability to walk, talk, and feel. Our society naturally supported our development of walking and talking. Yeah. It did not support the development of our ability to feel. It actually told us not to feel, which is why I love this book by Mark Brackett called Permission to Feel. Because if we'd had the permission to feel when we were between 3 and 6, all of us would be expert feelers today. But none of us is, because we didn't have that permission to feel. Yeah. But we can develop our ability to feel, never as we would have if we were between 3 and 6 and had that permission. We can still claim our right to feel and develop our ability to feel, relatively speaking, because I remember one of the first things I used to tell myself when I started learning this is, I get to be as upset as I need to be for as long as I need to be.
Yes.
Stop telling me to calm down.
Yes. Yeah. That's and so a lot of those feelings over the years, of experiencing them, of being able to actually put them to use to help in terms of understanding them. Yes. And understanding situations and how to react appropriately and have more agency, so to speak, right? Rather than maybe being impacted by the environment and then just being sent on like this spiral of whatever compulsive behavior we end up participating in,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
being out of whack. You know, I wonder if in the next podcast we can talk about depression and mixed feelings.
Sure.
Now that I think our audience is familiar more with how the different feelings can be both constructive and, difficult depending on your mind state.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe we can start to talk a little bit more about like things that are more complex, like life situations, and where we have mixed feelings about certain things that happen to us.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. I
Yeah.
think that's a great segue into talking about more complicated feelings, like mixed feelings and depression, which we didn't mention today, which isn't necessarily a feeling, but it's certainly a state that we all experience. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we can end the podcast there.
Yeah.
Leave our audience with something to maybe look forward to, or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ricardo, for another wonderful
Well,
conversation.
thank you. Hopefully they're curious to hear more about, well, what the hell on mixed feelings and more on depression. And if not, so be it.
Yeah. I'll keep looking for a job.
Good, and maybe you'll even have found a job.
Thanks. Okay.
Take care. Bye.